Have you ever looked back at a strange moment in your life and wondered, what if that wasn't an accident? Maybe it was a chance meeting with a person who later changed your life. Maybe it was a failure that seemed painful at the time, but eventually led you to something greater. Or perhaps it was one of those mysterious moments when life seemed to whisper a message directly to you. Most people dismiss such events as coincidence. They believe life is a collection of random occurrences, disconnected moments floating in an indifferent universe. But what if that assumption is completely wrong? What if there is an invisible order operating beneath the surface of reality, silently arranging events, opportunities, lessons, and encounters in ways we rarely understand while they are happening? Think about it. Human mind is limited by what it can immediately see. We judge events based on the present moment. When something good happens, we celebrate. When something painful happens, we resist. Yet history, both personal and collective, repeatedly shows that the true meaning of events often reveals itself much later. The job you lost may have protected you from a future disaster. The relationship that ended may have prepared you for a deeper connection. The obstacle that frustrated you may have developed strengths you would never have gained otherwise. A visible event is only one piece of a much larger pattern. The first hidden truth of the invisible order is this: every event carries information. Nothing enters your life empty-handed. Every experience arrives with a lesson, a signal, a warning, an opportunity, or a transformation hidden within it. The problem is that most people focus only on the surface. They ask, why is this happening to me? When a more powerful question would be, what is this trying to teach me? Imagine life as a vast intelligence communicating through experiences instead of words. Success teaches confidence. Failure teaches resilience. Loss teaches appreciation. Uncertainty teaches faith. Every situation becomes a message. The people who grow the most are not necessarily the smartest or the luckiest. They are the ones who learn to decode these messages. This does not mean every event is pleasant. Some lessons arrive wrapped in pain. Some truths reveal themselves through struggle. But even difficult experiences often become turning points that shape character, wisdom, and purpose. The invisible order does not always give us what we want. It often gives us what we need to become who we are capable of becoming. When you begin to see life through this lens, everything changes. Randomness starts to look like guidance. Obstacles start to look like preparation. Delays start to look like timing. And suddenly, instead of feeling like a victim of circumstances, you become a student of the deeper intelligence hidden behind them. That is where the journey truly begins. Second hidden truth of the invisible order is that timing matters more than most people realize. Human beings are obsessed with immediate results. We want answers now, success now, clarity now, and rewards now. When things do not happen according to our schedule, we assume something has gone wrong. We become frustrated by delays, disappointed by waiting periods, and discouraged when our plans fail to unfold as expected. Yet many of the most important events in life only make sense when viewed through the lens of timing. Imagine planting a seed in the ground. No matter how much you desire growth, the seed cannot become a tree overnight. There is an invisible process taking place beneath the surface. Roots are forming before branches appear. Strength is developing before growth becomes visible. If you judge the seed too early, you might believe nothing is happening. In reality, everything is happening. Life often works in exactly the same way. There are seasons when progress is obvious and seasons when progress is hidden. During hidden seasons, people frequently lose faith because they mistake silence for absence. They think that because they cannot see movement, movement does not exist. But many of the greatest transformations occur in darkness, away from recognition, where character, wisdom, patience, and resilience are quietly being built. Think about the opportunities you were not ready for in the past. Imagine receiving your greatest dream before you had the maturity, knowledge, or discipline to handle it. What appears to be a delay is often preparation. What appears to be a closed door may actually be protection. The invisible order understands something the conscious mind often forgets. Receiving the right thing at the wrong time can be just as damaging as never receiving it at all. When you begin trusting timing, your relationship with uncertainty changes. You stop demanding instant answers and start observing the process with greater awareness. Instead of asking, why isn't this happening yet? You begin asking, what is this season preparing me for? That single shift transforms frustration into curiosity and impatience into growth. The invisible order is not always denying your desires. Sometimes it is arranging the conditions necessary for those desires to arrive in the most meaningful and sustainable way possible. The third hidden truth of the invisible order is that every person who enters your life serves a purpose, whether that purpose is temporary or lifelong. We often think relationships happen randomly. We assume people simply appear by chance. Yet when we look back carefully, we discover that certain individuals arrived precisely when they were needed. Some people enter your life to encourage you. Others arrive to challenge your assumptions. Some inspire growth, while others reveal weaknesses that need attention. There are those who support your journey and those who test your strength. Both types are valuable, even when one feels pleasant and the other painful. One of the greatest mistakes people make is believing that every relationship is meant to last forever. The invisible order does not measure value by duration. A conversation lasting 10 minutes can alter the direction of an entire life. A friendship lasting a year can teach lessons that remain relevant for decades. Even difficult relationships can become powerful teachers, showing us boundaries, self-respect, forgiveness, or emotional maturity. Every meaningful encounter leaves something behind. Sometimes it is knowledge, sometimes it is motivation, sometimes it is a warning, sometimes it is a new perspective that changes how we see ourselves and the world. People we meet become mirrors reflecting parts of our character that would otherwise remain hidden. When viewed from this perspective, resentment begins to lose its grip. Instead of seeing people only as sources of pleasure or pain, you start seeing them as participants in a larger process of growth. You recognize that every encounter contains a lesson waiting to be discovered. Some people enter your story to walk beside you for many chapters. Others appear for only a page or two. But each one contributes something important to the unfolding pattern of your life. And when you understand this, you begin noticing that even the most unexpected meetings may be part of an invisible design far greater than chance. The fourth hidden truth of the invisible order is that resistance often points toward growth. Most people spend their lives avoiding discomfort. They move away from challenges, fear uncertainty, and seek the safety of what is familiar. Yet if you study the lives of extraordinary individuals, you will notice a fascinating pattern. The moments that transformed them were rarely comfortable. Growth almost always began where comfort ended. Think about every major skill you have ever developed. At first, it felt difficult. Every achievement required effort, discipline, and persistence. The same principle applies to personal transformation. The invisible order frequently places obstacles in our path not to stop us, but to strengthen us. What appears to be opposition may actually be preparation. Imagine a blacksmith forging a sword. Metal must endure intense heat and repeated strikes before it becomes strong enough to fulfill its purpose. If the metal could speak, it might interpret the process as punishment. Yet from a higher perspective, every strike is shaping its future strength. Human beings often experience life in the same way. We see pressure and assume something is wrong. We encounter difficulty and believe we are being blocked. But many times, life is developing capacities within us that comfort never could. Fear itself can become a guide. The dreams that excite us most often sit on the other side of our greatest fears. The opportunities that create the most growth frequently require stepping into uncertainty. Resistance is not always a sign to retreat. Sometimes it is evidence that you are standing at the edge of an important breakthrough. When you begin viewing challenges differently, your relationship with adversity changes. Instead of asking, "Why is this happening to me?" you ask, "What strength is this trying to build within me?" Suddenly, problems become training grounds. Difficult conversations become opportunities for courage. Failures become lessons in resilience. Uncertainty becomes a classroom for faith. The invisible order understands that strength cannot be given. It must be developed. And often, the very experiences we would never choose become the experiences that prepare us for our greatest future. The fifth hidden truth of the invisible order is that your attention shapes your reality more than you realize. Every day, countless events compete for your awareness. Some are positive, some are negative, some are empowering, while others are limiting. Yet the human mind has a remarkable tendency to expand whatever it consistently focuses on. If you spend your days searching for reasons to feel unlucky, your mind will find evidence everywhere. If you constantly focus on problems, obstacles begin to dominate your perception of reality. But if you train your attention to recognize opportunities, lessons, and possibilities, an entirely different world begins to emerge. This does not mean ignoring difficulties or pretending problems do not exist. It means understanding that where attention goes, energy follows. The invisible order responds not only to circumstances, but also to perception. Two people can experience the same event and create completely different futures because they interpret it differently. One sees defeat while the other sees a lesson. One sees an ending while the other sees a beginning. Your beliefs act like filters through which reality is experienced. If you believe growth is possible, you become more likely to notice opportunities for improvement. If you believe life is meaningful, you become more sensitive to patterns, lessons, and connections. The invisible order is constantly presenting possibilities, but only those who are attentive can recognize them. Awareness is therefore one of the greatest powers available to human beings. The moment you consciously direct your focus, you begin influencing the quality of your experience. You become less reactive and more intentional. Instead of drifting through life unconsciously, you start participating in its unfolding design. The invisible order may exist beyond your control, but your attention determines how much of it you are able to perceive. As we reach the end of this journey, consider the possibility that life is far more interconnected than it first appears. Perhaps every lesson, every delay, every challenge, every relationship, and every unexpected turn is part of a pattern too vast to be fully understood from a single moment in time. The invisible order does not require blind belief. It asks only for observation. Look closely at your own life. Examine the events that once seemed meaningless. Notice the setbacks that eventually became blessings. Reflect on the people who arrived exactly when they were needed and the opportunities that appeared when you were finally ready for them. Maybe nothing is truly random. Maybe the moments you call coincidence are pieces of a larger design, slowly revealing itself. And perhaps the greatest transformation begins when you stop asking whether life has meaning and start asking whether you have been paying attention to the meaning that has been there all along. The next time something unexpected happens, resist the urge to dismiss it immediately. Pause, observe, reflect, because hidden within that moment may be a lesson, a direction, a warning, or an opportunity that could change everything. The invisible order is always speaking. The question is not whether it exists. The question is whether you are listening.